Family, welcome, welcome. And as I used to get made of before Tyrone, I'll say a third welcome back to the program, family. It's so good to have you all here on a Monday, a little bit after 5. Technical difficulties, please, please, y'all. If you don't know me, you will get to know how terrible I am with technology. Blame it on me, but it's so good to have you all here at this moment tonight. Tyrone, I tell you, I don't think I've said this in a while, but once again, man, we have esteemed guests who we just continue to raise the bar with these such special folks who give their time and their talent and their treasure to this program for an hour to give us information that is vital and critical to what we can do as parents, advocates, and people that are really concerned with the state of Baltimore City public school system. We have Miss Rosalyn Taylor and Miss Jessica Lawrence, and seems like it's been forever, but the brother, the face of the franchise is back. Mr. Tyrone Barnwell is back in his seat, back in the house. So good to have you.
Absolutely. Happy to be back.
All right. So we're going to start with our connection question, family. Please, as my brother Tyrone is going to say later, share the live, do a watch party, comment in the chat, give questions, your family and school policy engagement questions. If you have them, we know that you probably do, or comments. This is the crew to ask those questions. We get access to real, true, unfiltered information from Miss Lawrence and Miss Taylor. But before we start our connection question, Miss Taylor, I'm gonna come to you first because I saw you smiling not too long ago. So Miss Taylor, yes. What is your perfect spring day, man? What does it look like?
Ooh, that would be a day like today where I can go in my yard and get my garden together and just move around some things, transplant some plants, and just put some new stuff in the ground.
All right.
That's perfect.
Okay, Miss Taylor. Miss Lawrence, how about you?
Well, Miss Taylor, she's on my street. I mean, I'm looking at it every day. I walk past it, and it's not looking the way that I need it to look for me. So it would be the same. Taking the kids to the playground early enough before getting off of a late Zoom meeting, and working in the garden, working in the yard, and just relaxing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna step in just before our dear brother Tyrone. For me, God bless y'all and the garden and the green thumb. God bless y'all. Y'all are just beautiful folk. And I know Tyrone does a bit of that as well. But for me, it's just enjoying the environment, nature, getting out, taking a walk with my children or by myself. I love to sit by this little brook and read as the water is going by. So just enjoying the nature of things. Mr. Tyrone, how about you, sir?
Yeah, I have to go with the ladies, with our guests. Seriously, I don't like that is for me like that would be an amazing spring day. Now I don't have much grass out front to really plant how I would like to, but to freshen up my plants on the porch and maybe replant some stuff on the porch and get my my flower pots right on the porch and stuff like that would be a perfect spring day for me. Put the rocks in the bottom so the people don't and do all that stuff, make the pots heavy and prepared the proper way. Yeah, that would be a great, nice,
See, that's gardening speak. I already know you talk about rocks and pots. Oh, only rocks I know is the ones in the ground, and the pots are the ones I cook with. So see, that's garden speak. That's garden speak. You have to educate me on that. But family, also please put in the chat for us the comments. What is your perfect spring day, family? What does it look like to you? We're gonna get right to our questions for our esteemed guests. So important to have them here. Ms. Lawrence, the first question is going to come to you. And after I ask it, please ask for you to just briefly introduce yourself and let the people know who you are. Speaking of this engagement policy, the current practice is often the principal or district presents information and asks for feedback. What will be different with the new framework to make communication more two-way? It's they say it's two-way, but that's not the real feeling that we get.
Absolutely. So first to do as instructed, my name is Jessica Lawrence. I am the Family and Community Engagement Staff Policy Specialist. I work in the engagement office, and I am also a very, very proud city schools parent, and wife of a city schools educator. And I just want to shout out my school community while I'm on here really quick. The Commodore John Rogers School. I have some of my parent friends and peers watching right now, hopefully. But to answer your question in terms of two-way communication, one of the things that we're very excited about being included in this policy, just to start off to do some framing for folks who may not know that there is a community engaged. Can you all hear me okay now? Is that much better? That may not know that there is a family and community engagement policy. It was established in 2009 to really ground city schools and what effective family and community engagement should look like across our schools, and how families should enter into authentic partnerships with their school communities, educators, and in the district. And so in doing so, I can remember back in 2009, when my daughter, one of our oldest children, she was in the 5th grade. And I remember being invited to a school family council kickoff meeting to join and be part of that. And I received that information through a flyer that was book bagged home. Luckily, I was able to get my hand on it at the time because it wasn't crumbled up, but those things happen. I'm going somewhere with this. And so when we define two-way communication, it must be reflective of the unique needs of parents and families in that particular school community. So one of the things that's new to this policy is that we are going to be working with communities, stakeholders, staff, and families to jointly develop a communications plan that reflects how families want to receive information. And then also, there will be opportunities through various mechanisms, whether it be, the family survey, which we've done a few times this school year for the first time ever, POSIP text messaging, information sessions, town halls, all of that allows the communication tactics between the family, between the stakeholder to be two-way and not one-way. So I wanted to just add that as something that is new to the policy. There's another section that talks about, we know that everybody may not know how to do that. That's on both sides. That's the challenge. We've all got to get on the same page about this work. And so we're going to make sure that our school teams, those are principals, educators, and other points of contact who are responsible for family and community engagement in schools, as well as our parents, have the necessary training to be able to engage in effective two-way communication. And I know I've heard from your families in your group that you don't see a definition of two-way communication. And that's that way for a reason. This has to be unique to the needs of a school community. I use some of the communities that we work in Southwest Baltimore, where home visiting is an effective strategy to get the word out about things, because folks may not be tuned in to visiting the website. You may not get a robocall. So it has to be unique to that school community. So I just wanted to just anchor that response and making sure that it is tailored for what that unique school community needs to reach its families.
Thank you, Ms. Lawrence. I actually have a follow-up for you. You mentioned some of those items. Are there more in terms of the big picture on the policy? And how does the policy affect what happens in schools? We advocate and we push, and we talked not too long ago about the two-way communication, and you're saying it's ambiguous for a reason. And a lot of the parents feel like, well, if you say it's two-way and it feels like it's one way, then why are you calling it two-way?
So I want to call out, thank you for that. I want to call out that this is new for a reason. We've heard from families exactly what you're saying, right? And so this information was not in the policy before, and it's sort of a way to respond to what you said just then. Family said it's not working, right? So we've got to, one, before we as the district or city schools, we don't want to come up with a definition of two-way communication without being in community and in response to what we've heard from parents and families. So one of the things that you may not see in this very early version of the policy that talks about two-way communication is what it should look like, is that there will be guidance. That's the key, right, to the policy. And that guidance spells out, what does this look like on a day-to-day? What are the guidelines and the protocols and the key action steps that must take place continuously in schools? And again, I'm always going to share that this is new. And so we've got to make sure that all stakeholders are trained and they have the skills and the necessary knowledge and capacity to be able to engage parents and families effectively. So that's one of the first steps. So thank you for that, William.
Surely, and thank you for your answer. Ms. Taylor, to you, as a parent, you've been aware of family and community engagement policy in your work and how it affects your work in schools. What do you notice about the policies and its impact on day-to-day work at school?
Okay, first of all, I would like to say that I have had the great experience of having 3 different type of schools and being involved with it and seeing the impacts. The policy overall is there. And I want to piggyback on something that Jessica said about ambiguity, and that piece was ambiguous for a reason, but it also, I would say it lends to the impact that you're going to see on the school day to day. If something, your stakeholders have to embrace it in totality, and if they don't understand it because it's not clearly defined, then your day to day it differs in the school, and it can be unique, like Jessica said, what's happening in your school. But if it's not brought down to a level where everyone can understand it, the layperson can understand it, and to see the goals and the things that we need to work towards that are unique to the school, but as also collectively for the school community and the district as a whole, it does not lend to something that can play out very well, and hoping and guiding for that change that we're all seeking.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. And what about the day-to-day, ambiguity aside, how has the policies affected the day-to-day work in schools?
To me, it's a challenging in an aspect, trying to make sure that it's, or was that for me or Jessica?
No, I wanted to share something that already exists, but we're trying to lift up in the revisions to this new policy that I think will address some of the challenges that you've experiencing and what you're sharing with us now. But you go ahead.
Okay, Ms. Taylor, yes.
Okay, so the day to day in that, I think it has to be the conversation. So to get it to play out, that means that school community has to be connected. And so specifically speaking about my child's school, making sure that I am there in contact with the administrators, the teachers, the staff, but they also know that they have the importance of me supporting what they're doing on that day to day, what that looks like, and some of the policies that are impactful. Like, for instance, just an example, my son just started going back to school, in-person school. And so right now, the school community kind of put this together to make sure that we are in constant contact with one another by using parent classroom, by talking to the principals. They are accessible. One, because you don't find that in the course of a day and what the school community, what the school itself has to deal with on a day-to-day basis, for a parent to be involved and to include that parent in what is happening in your day-to-day and inviting them in to make sure that how can I help, and it plays out that policy piece where we're actually talking about and keeping that communication going. The day-to-day practice of that is that communication between all entities and all stakeholders that are involved. So in order to do that, I have to know that it is overall arching, we have the policy there, but the communication and the interaction of what happens on a day-to-day basis must be always consistent, so it can be part of the fabric of that community, so that when Jessica spoke about something that is authentic, it is developing those things, but that takes constant practice day to day. And it's if we talked about the policy pieces, that was the defining reason of why we're doing it, so that we can constantly see it. But that practice day to day comes with that everyday communicating, talking, what's working, what's not working. Let's revamp, let's come up with these ideas to see what it is that we need to do to get the outcomes that we're seeking. And sometimes when you start off with an initiative, it is not necessarily a goal in mind. After that conversation, after interacting with one another, after seeing what's happening at the school, how effective we are communicating or being able to reach the parent or being able to reach the staff, it may be a different outcome or a different issue altogether. So again, that day-to-day practice comes with that interaction, and the policy is what actually helps to guide that. And then the support too.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Forgive me, I did not give you a chance to introduce yourself and some of the great work you've been doing.
Oh, you know what? I'm honored that you guys say that, because I don't see it as great work. I just see it as what I'm called to do as a parent. I am Rosalyn Taylor. I am a parent of a city school 8th grader right now. So I have been heavily involved in my children's life. All of my children went through city schools, and to just whatever environment that I am in, I actually go and with the intent of making it better. What can I do to enhance it, to make sure that they're getting the best, make sure that the schools feel supported by families. And then also, what do I need to advocate for, not only for my child, but for all children in Baltimore City Public Schools?
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Ms. Lawrence, you wanted to respond?
No, first I want to thank Ms. Taylor and all of the families and stakeholders on the call that are joining us tonight for their service and support in this work. It's really important. But I wanted to thank you for calling out that sometimes we have a goal in mind, but getting there is where there could be challenges, and making sure that it's consistent and that day-to-day work and planning takes place. And so there are a few things that are in the current policy right now that, again, we're hoping to elevate and really expand so that it becomes real. And that is the development of a family engagement plan, right? And everything that you mentioned, Ms. Taylor, how are we communicating with families, the tools that we use? You mentioned parent classroom. I know I use Dojo, and I get text messages and all sorts of things. All of that information should be clearly defined and spelled out for families at the beginning of the school year. The rights and responsibilities of both the staff and educators and parents should be clearly outlined, so that every stakeholder, right, understands what their role is around effective partnerships, as well as what we're all doing to support student learning and how families can support that work. And so in doing so, there's a requirement in the policy right now. It's called the Family Engagement Plan. And it spells out what that should look like, all of the different touch points throughout the entire school year. And sometimes it can be in draft, because sometimes you need the course correct. If something isn't working, or if a particular strategy didn't go so well, schools should be working in community with parents and families and staff to put in those plans what works and what families are responding well to support their scholars. And so another thing I wanted to mention, I really wanted to share with you my agreement with, making sure that folks have the capacity and the skills to do it. One of the things that's really important about this policy, this new policy, is that we need to have a strong implementation plan. This isn't going to happen the first day that school opens. There is a process right now, and we invite the community to work in partnership with us. Really excited about TDP being part of an advisory team to help develop an implementation plan so that this policy is real, that we move beyond the words in a 15-page document, and families can walk into a schoolhouse without having even knowing that this policy exists, and they feel it, right? And so that takes day-to-day planning that we're all gonna have to roll our sleeves up and do, because family and community engagement is a shared responsibility. It's a job of everybody.
Right.
So I just wanted to thank you. All of your comments, Ms. Taylor, was spot on. So.
Okay. I would like to add to that a strong implementation plan as well as a strong evaluation plan. Because if we do not go back, we can implement, we can talk, and we can do those things. But if we do not go back and evaluate to see the effectiveness or the lack thereof, then we're just back to the drawing board with redefining what communication is and this whole thing all over again. So a strong evaluation plan as well.
Ms. Taylor, you almost want me, I'm getting ready to say, did you write the policy? Did you write the revision? Because what we have for the first time in this revised policy is a rubric and a self-assessment to help measure the effectiveness of our implementation in this of this policy. That is there. We'll be checking it. There will be pulse checks. Each school has an assigned family and community engagement specialist who works at the district level to work in partnership with points of contact, our community schools coordinators, our family and community engagement liaisons, our partnership and volunteer leads, our youth engagement leads. All of those individuals work in partnership in a schoolhouse. So you'll see that in this revised policy that they're working together to implement the policy. And you're spot on. That is the last section of the revised policy where, hey, we got to figure out if we're doing this thing right. Is it working? How are families and staff responding to this? And that's there. So, and then how do we make meaning of what we learn from the data, right? Okay, we know that this didn't work or this worked well. What are we doing to scale? What are we doing to, again, course correct? So thank you. Yes.
I thank you both for that exchange. Tyrone, they're making my job. I feel like I might need to just go on somewhere, Tyrone. They're having this conversation. Family, please continue to join us. I was coming to you, Brother Tyrone. Have people responded? Are there questions or comments from the faithful?
I think because of the information that we are getting from Ms. Lawrence and then Ms. Taylor, folks are just like, okay, that questions are being answered. They're hitting the spot. So it's not a lot. Of course, we do have folks that are engaged and they're just sitting in here taking in the information. Ms. Rosalyn, like any other time, Ms. Rosalyn steps in. She mentions the questions that other parents and, other folks have. And so she's touching on those things already that is here. So there's nothing brand new. But to remind you all, you can ask Ms. Lawrence questions if you have questions or comments for Ms. Taylor as well. You all please comment them here. We will continue to share the live you all to other parents and educators so folks can also get and hear this information. I think I just want to put out there that I think it's a great thing when we do get someone from the district, as Ms. Lawrence is someone in this in that capacity to come here and be able to talk about and express the changes that are coming abroad, about that will really, really help us out and get parents and other responsible parties engaged and feel a part of. So I'm just excited. Welcome. And hello everyone. We're getting a lot of responses from people just kind of being excited on seeing the whole team back together and stuff. And then I got messages coming in because people know some personal stuff I'm going through, they're responding. But yeah, great nuggets from Mrs. Taylor and Mrs. Lawrence tonight. So that's another comment. So people are definitely feeling and engaging in what you both are saying. Only if more people was like Miss Lawrence. I'm going to just leave that comment. I'm not going to read the rest of that one. But they are loving you, Miss Lawrence, okay? They are feeling the love from you. Again, you all, as we continue on in with this information. Please, y'all ask questions. And yeah, share your comments and continue to share the live and get more people in. While we have access to someone like Miss Lawrence now from the Family and Community Engagement Office, please send them in. But back to y'all.
Well, thank you, Brother Tyrone, and all the people out there that are continuing to ask, or even if you're just laying back and you're watching and listening to Miss Taylor and Miss Lawrence. Miss Taylor, I have a follow-up, and we'll go off book here a little bit, because when you mentioned the evaluation process. So for you, who does advocacy work as a parent, what does a good evaluation look like in your eyes and to the eyes of the parents that you work with?
To me, a good evaluation starts with the knowledge. What is it that we're working on? What stakeholders, that are included in that process. So from planning to implementing to evaluating, that is, if we decide that, let's say, for instance, we're going to work on getting more youth engaged for the school. What does that mean? How are they not engaged? What do we need to do? Did we poll them, or is it stayed at the adult level and say, okay, this is what engagement means for a child or youth? And they may not necessarily define it the same way. And so how did we include them? And if we included them, then how did we implement some of their ideas into what we're doing, and what does it turn out to be? I know that when I was the PTO president, and I thought, effective communication tool would be Facebook. And then one of the students, walking around the school, Facebook, who uses Facebook? That's for old people. And I'm like, oh my gosh, but I'm thinking that was the newest thing that we could use to be able to. So that's when I was like, well, no, come back and tell me. How do I even get to you and your peers? What do I need to incorporate that? And then do a follow-up. It's not going to be something that's going to be months from now, or during spring break, we'll do it, or Christmas break, we'll do it. We're continually looking at what we're doing on a month-to-month or every other month basis to see, is this effective? If it's not, don't be afraid to change it. Don't be, because we've done it so many years this way and we've gotten this outcome and it worked. Well, look at technology, look at social media, look at how the children are interacting with one another now. It's not in person anymore. For the last year, over a year now, we have been virtual. So how have they been effective in communicating with one another? And then how do we still get this message out that, hey, we're still a community and a family. So we effectively evaluating to change it, and don't be afraid to change it if it's not working, producing the outcomes that we need. So it's that, like I said, that constant interaction and that talking, engaging, whether we're doing it via live Facebook, or, we're having in-class meetings on the parent classroom and Zoom, however we're doing it. It's just that conversation that we have to constantly say, wait a minute, let's do a check. Is it working? What's working? Great. What's not working? What do we need to do to be able to change it? And then we just constantly keep looking at it.
Thank you. Ms. Lawrence, for you, the policy references collaborative school planning. For instance, the school family council is supposed to work on school performance plan and new school family and community partnership plan. Describe how these plans should engage the stakeholders.
Sure, thank you so much. But before I want to move on, I want to call out, thank you so much, Ms. Taylor, for mentioning youth engagement. This is new in our policy. Before, we didn't mention youth voice, student engagement, student leadership. This is now a part of the work in the engagement office, right? And so we have a youth engagement specialist. And one of the things that you answered already, but I just want to go back to it, that two-way communication. I jotted down some things when you were talking, Ms. Taylor, because you're teaching me and you're helping to connect it. It has to be unique, it has to be tailored, and it has to be targeted. We may think we have the answers on how our families, even our young people, want to engage with us, and we haven't asked them, and that's where we get tripped up. So part of what you're going to see in the policy is, it says just that. It is the joint development of those two-way communications plans. So I just wanted to say thank you, Ms. Taylor. You wrote the policy. It feels like that. So thank you.
No,
But
I read a lot. No. I
no,
read a
thank
lot,
you.
and I'm able to relate that to my experience, working within the schools and seeing some organized schools that worked very well. I've walked into schools where they haven't, like the parent organization didn't exist at all. And then I also have the experience of it's being combined with the family council. So again, it's just looking at it from whichever lens that I've experienced after reading the information and just trying to stay abreast to see how I can be effective.
Thank you. So
and participate.
Thank you. I want to get back to your question though, William, about the school family partnership plan. So as long as I've been in this work, I think I'm going on like 17 years, started out as a community organizer, youth organizer, and then I moved into family engagement. There has always been a requirement, or kind of like a federal mandate for Title I schools particularly, but this is something that as a district, we've decided that is really important. And it's a really powerful tool when folks understand it and know how to use it. And that is a family engagement plan, right? And that family engagement plan is kind of like where we outline families' rights and responsibilities, how they can share their concerns, how they will be engaged throughout that school year. This is supposed to be jointly developed in partnership with families and staff and even young people every school year. There's also a requirement of a homeschool compact. And this outlines that agreement between the school, the families, and students about how all of those stakeholder groups will work together to support learning. And then we have a lot of community schools in our district, right? And they all have action plans that kind of spell out how the school will enter into those important partnerships and work within neighborhoods and communities and other institutions to support student learning and remove barriers to student success and family engagement. That's 3 different plans, right?
Yeah.
And a school where people are juggling a lot. And so through our feedback, what we heard when we talked about these plans, we've been talking about and getting feedback on this policy since March. We heard from principals, it's too much.
Too much.
We heard from families, I don't know what that is. We've heard from staff, well, which one where do I sit? How do I get such and such? And so what we've done out of that is we've developed what is called a school family partnership plan. That's going to take all of those 3 important documents that really some people say, oh, that's compliance, you're just checking the box. But words matter, right? And what's on paper matters, and we have to make them real. And so in doing so, we are proposing that there's one integrated plan that includes student, family, staff, and community partner voice. It's jointly developed, so it's not just the school leadership team or a small group of parents or the school family council person coming up with something. It is everybody working collectively to bring all of it together. It doesn't replace those plans because we still got to do them to get the content, but it addresses all of the board policy requirements, right? It aligns the youth and community and family partnership work. It's going to eliminate gaps and duplication of efforts. Everybody's got to know what everybody's doing, right? And then it's going to inform all staff and stakeholders of their roles, rights, and responsibilities around family and community engagement. And most importantly, this document is something that is informed by the school performance plan. Right now, the school performance plan is that guiding document every year that school teams get together to develop to figure out and address how to support student learning and meet those goals. In that school performance plan, you'll hear the acronym called SPP thrown around a lot. It's really important. In there is your family engagement plan. What we're looking to do is to bring all of that together so families have one centralized place to access the resources that they need to support their students. I think of out of everything in the policy, it is the thing that I'm most excited about because it brings it all together. And so I know I took a long time to explain that, and it is worth it because I think this is the first step to kind of like getting on the same page about how we define family and community and youth engagement in our schools.
Tyrone, you muted, brother.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. All right, so some stuff coming. What do we do is question of Miss Lawrence. What do we do when parents aren't ready to even come to the table yet for this stuff? How do we back up and address the mistrust that is there? Because trust have to be there before we can even come together and plan. And that seems to be, one issue, one of the many, one issue with parents and other advocates and stuff is the lack of trust that's there. So that's one. Well, I'll let you say some of that first and then I'll go to the next question.
Okay. And so to quickly address that, I want to share two things. One is what is anchoring every section in this policy, and what we're working on really quick. I just want to plug this. We are getting a 1 to 2 page quick guide to this policy. I know everybody's not going to be reading 30 pages like me and Miss Taylor. There's a certain, and that's okay. We're not judging that, and you shouldn't have to. It should be made plain for our family. So we're working on that, and that will be translated and it will be available on our website in the next few days. But I want to get back to your question. What is anchoring the revisions in this new policy that can get to that trusting relationship? Our educators, our staff, city schools, team members, our parents and families, every level in the organization throughout our neighborhoods and schools and communities, folks have to have the capacity, knowledge, and skills to enter into those trusting relationships. And that comes with capacity building. One of the things that we are very excited about this policy is that the revisions that you see and even our approach to developing some of the updates, it was guided by our equity policy, right? Considering, again, the unique experiences, the mistrust that already exists, we can't just jump out there and say, oh, we're going to all work together now to jointly develop these plans and put it all into one place. There has to be authentic community touches. There has to be authentic opportunities for families to even get into a space before we start that work. And so that's why there is an entire section in the policy that is strictly dedicated to capacity building, not only for families, but for staff too. And we call that the dual capacity building approach to family and community engagement. We've adopted a strategy that was developed by Dr. Karen Mapp at Harvard University based on decades of research that tells us that family and community engagement is an instructional strategy. It is an essential part of how we teach young people. You cannot do it without their families, their communities, their caregivers. And so that is the first approach before we even get into any of the deep, work steps in this policy. So I'll pause there. Thank you.
Okay. And so the policy right now does not have the school performance plan as a part of the one plan. Is that changing?
So one of the things that is extremely important to recognize that is for family and community engagement. And that is where we know we need to do tutoring up and like training so that folks understand how this fits. The school performance plan is part of the work of the school family council. So we'll get into, I'll try to quickly explain how this works. The family engagement goals, and so let's just say in a school performance plan, school leaders and teams are working to improve reading in second grade, right? And so one of the things that's important in a school performance plan is those family engagement goals. And that is, what will families do? Mm-hmm. How do we make sure families can partner with the instructional team in a school to address those gaps and barriers? That is essentially our work, linking family and community engagement to student achievement. You know, making that clear connection that to what end are we doing school family council? To what end are we doing organized parent groups? To what end are we doing family literacy nights? What are parents walking away with so that they understand what's needed to educate their students? I hope that answers that question. Okay, all right.
Yep. William, back to you. I got an answer now. Okay.
I didn't know if the family had any more. Go ahead.
No, it's just I got like comments, so I don't have questions. It's just, you know, based around that. So that's, let me see. Wait, is the SPP part of the one plan now?
The school performance plan is a separate plan, right? That's an academic approach that's principals and school teams use to guide, you know, their instructional strategy and how they educate young people in the schoolhouse. Within that school performance plan is a section for family and community engagement, right? And it outlines the role of families, the role, because it's a shared responsibility, right? And we're linking it to student achievement. It outlines, one, how the school works with the community and families to support those student learning goals. All of that is part of a comprehensive plan. But what I did tell Rebecca, because we had an advanced conversation about in prep for the podcast, I did tell her that what we would do is get the team that oversees the development of the school performance plan to come and share details explicitly on what that looks like, because it has a lot of moving pieces.
Right. Awesome.
That's made up of different components and content areas beyond family and community engagement. But, you know, everyone should be very excited that there is a section in the SPP that includes how a school works with parents and families and partners to support student learning. Because that's the shift in our work. When we talk about a mindset shift, that's it. It's a part of that work. Absolutely. And we got to do a better job of telling that story so that families feel confident in their ability to partner with their school teams to support their children.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, and I wanted to speak to one last thing. I didn't answer your question about what do we do about families who aren't engaged. Now, this is something that I tell all the time when I'm in meetings. I work in the engagement office and I'm very passionate with action about our work, but I am not the parent. I'm not Miss Taylor. I'm not going to be the PTO president. I might not even come to a PTO meeting, and that's okay. We got to be okay with families being able to engage on their terms in a unique way that works for them. But what I do have is a strong, trusting relationship with my child's teacher. Both of my girls, I'm in constant communication with their teachers. And that is a form of engagement that should be valued. Everybody may not want to come to a meeting. You know, we just need to create safe spaces for families to engage in the way that is comfortable for them. And shout out to Miss Taylor for all of your hard work, because I have a Miss Taylor at my school and I'm telling you, she keeps me informed. So I appreciate you all.
Okay, thank you all for chiming in with those questions and comments. But you know, part of the engagement, it's whoever did the last question or comment, Tyrone, and to follow and back in actually to Ms. Lawrence's response is this question of training. The policy references support and training for stakeholders. So I want to ask both of you, Ms. Lawrence, from the city schools perspective, what training does city schools see as most needed? Let's start there, and then Ms. Taylor, from your working with your colleagues that are parents, same question to you.
So I want to honor Ms. Taylor calling out the use of data. I want to start with the data that we have right now. In the spring, in July, we did a spring family survey to, you know, just get a pulse check on, family experience, well-being, how they were, doing during the virtual learning period. And what we learned is that families overwhelmingly asked for support with social and emotional well-being,
Mhm.
right? And so one of the things that, when you ask, well, what is the most important training? I would say the most important training is what we hear from families when they tell us what they need. I will start there, right? And so one of the things that we've done to be responsive to that in real time is we are implementing parent cafes across all schools in the district. And so those parent cafes are safe and welcoming and inclusive opportunities for families to build community, share resources. We can learn a lot from our families when we listen to them. They got the answers, you know, and this is a space for them to build community. And so we're training our family and community engagement liaisons. Our FCE specialists are leading that effort. Some of our community schools partners are at the table with us to be able to implement those before the end of the school year and train parent leaders and any parent that wants to be engaged in this effort, so that when we come back in the fall, these are up and running and ready as rich spaces for that continuous opportunity and feedback loop to get feedback. I'll also share that the training that is needed the most we've heard is information on academic milestones. What should my child be learning? I need to understand the curriculum, and I'm very proud of the work that has gone into the Family University this year. If you go to the district's website, the Facebook page, our YouTube page, just put in City Schools Family University. There are over 30 different mini workshops that are virtual that families can just click on and watch. We have a workshop around, our English language arts curriculum that we did in partnership with the Office of Teaching and Learning. There are workshops from our partners. There's workshops on STEM, things that families can do with, a cardboard box to be able to teach certain skills and milestones for that particular grade level. I don't know everything off of the top of my head right now, but I do want to share with you that tomorrow evening, you can go to the district's website to participate in a virtual family university on family wellness and self-care and resources that are free in the community, in our city right now to be able to access. So to answer your question on training, we have a family university. We need help getting the word out to all families so that they know where they can go to get training. And then to close, training for the policy and how to implement it and understand it will be the very first thing that we do. So I just want to close with that. Ms. Taylor, off to you.
Thank you. But Ms. Taylor, before you answer, Ms. Lawrence, if you would be so kind as to enter that information about tomorrow evening's event into the chat, that would be wonderful.
My colleague Holly is here. She's going to get everything so you all can post it. We need everybody logged on tomorrow to watch at 6 p.m. And guess what? If you can't watch it live, these offerings are available on our Facebook pages, our YouTube pages, the district's website. It's there for everybody.
Ms. Gonzalez, if you could put it directly into the chat, we have a lot of folks watching. That would be great. Thank you. Ms. Taylor, from the parent advocate perspective, what do you see? And I would like to, if you don't say what I'm going to say, I'm going to add that to the fray while we have Ms. Lawrence here, captive audience. But Ms. Taylor, what do you see? What is the needs for parents? What are they asking for in training? What are those things? Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez.
I think for number one is, and this is especially true for me, the number one thing that I ask for training for is the curriculum in which my child is learning, the information which is learning, because the way they're teaching it today is not the way that I've learned it. And so when I am reviewing my son's work and want to know what exactly are you doing, and so, well, why don't you just do it this way? And we would, say, you just do it because this is the way it's done. Well, they're teaching now that they want to know the whys. Why are you doing it this way? And so, what's good about the school is when we voice that, then we have like tutorials for parents. And so we'll have parent math night or parent reading night or whatever. So the type of training that we actually need is how can we be effective at home with with our children as far as the curriculum and academics are concerned. And then, like, I will piggyback off of what Ms. Lawrence said, the emotional aspect of a virtual learning environment, and how do we adjust, and how do, we, get to our child, what do we need to do to incorporate what we need to share with our children as far as this experience is concerned, what the pandemic has meant to them on their level, and be able to have those type of engaging conversations. So some professional guidance to parents that will be able to have those day-to-day conversations with the children is great. But I also think that for the training pieces, when you're saying policy and putting all these plans together and what that actually means, if we can break that down, because this is way too much information for someone to get in an hour or a 3-hour training or whatever. But this is something, like I said from earlier, we have to be engaging from the beginning, and this is a constant ongoing conversation. And so training may not be some formal setting or environment or a virtual hour or two or whatever, but the training and the conversation of what do parents need in order to feel inclusive into the school environment. I think, for instance, the parent is the first cheerleader, the first advocate for their children, the first person that knows this child intimately enough to know, how do I advocate or effectively advocate and speak on a level where it's going to bring it down, that I can understand it and bring the resources to me, that not only you're telling me about it. So it's great that all of this stuff is happening on social media. Social media is happening on a website, is happening to this. But if I'm that caregiver that do not have that tools available to me, what is the other avenue that we're going to get this information, that we can kind of put it in writing? So sometimes it is that copy paper that's going to be placed in that book bag that, Ms. Lawrence spoke of earlier today. So how do we effectively communicate at all levels? I think training starts with first getting the parents to be able to understand how they can best help their child academically, perform in school, any areas that they may, like for me, my son, and the way they're teaching math, oh my God, just blow my mind about we're doing what and why. So way I learned is it's just because. Now I have to explain every detail to know the whys to be able to get it, because they have technology where they can just Google it and get the answer and never have to put any forethought into it. So again, it is what we need to work on, individually, family first, and then we're going to build into that school community, because it expands all the way out. Training should be something that is ongoing and not just a conversation that we analyze once a year when we're looking at a plan.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. I would just like to say also, Ms. Lawrence, while I have you, that one thing that needs to be worked on for training is the virtual space. Parents need to know how to navigate the virtual space.
Mm-hmm.
Most of our scholars need to know how to navigate the virtual space. You can add that to the curriculum training process, but a lot of our kids and a lot of because of the technological deficits, are behind when it comes to accessing the virtual world, which is what we're going to be in for the foreseeable future, even if it's a hybrid situation or back in school full time.
So I first of all, thank you. I know you all have a hard stop at 6, but I want to quickly answer 2 questions. William, I start with you. There is on the district's website right now, on our YouTube page, the Family University has over 15 offerings that are quick tips and videos on how to navigate virtual learning. It is there. So I need your help with helping us to spread that information. There is a 3-minute tutorial on Google Classroom. There's a tutorial on the parent portal. There's a tutorial on Go Guardian. These are all of the things that our young people are interacting with every day. They are right there. The Family University has that information available. And so I'm going to go back to the team and see if we can get those things reposted and shared on the website and on social media this week. We hear you. So I want to speak to that. The second thing I want to speak to, Ms. Taylor, is your the training. One of the things that you'll see in the policy, the revised policy, is that not only will the district provide system-wide district training, our school teams will actually drill down to the school level and do a school site specific training. Some of that was piloted early this year with the family orientations. We worked very closely with the school's office to host for every school a family orientation on virtual learning. That was a best practice that we got a lot of feedback. We had over 3,000 families complete a survey saying what they thought about that first touch at the beginning of the school year. But I hear you, Ms. Taylor, it needs to be ongoing and regular. So those are things that are in the policy, but that's something that we can expand. So I hope I answered those 2 questions. All right.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lawrence. We appreciate your knowledge and your brevity and coming on and being willing to share. Ms. Taylor, all the work that you've done. Sorry, we don't have time for final thoughts, as it were. Mr. Barnwell, you have anything before we get off the air? People are leaving right now.
Thank everyone for being here, Ms. Lawrence, Ms. Taylor. We have others. I do want to mention really quick that this policy next Tuesday goes into second reader.
May 22nd, May 25th. I'm sorry.
Maybe. Okay, so it's not next Tuesday, so we have more time.
Come back. I'm happy to come back on behalf of my team and everything to actually talk to you about the revisions that made. We want everybody to know this is happening. And the family survey is open, the end of year family survey. I'm sorry, Tyrone, but I wanted to just plug that. It's on the website. You can see it right now. Thank you.
It's cool. Taxpayers Night is next Wednesday. So if anyone wants to go and testify, of course, there on what you wish our city priorities are, that's always important for parents and other folks. So be there next week. Thank you, Ms. Lawrence. Thank you, Ms. Taylor, always, for being an amazing parent, Ms. Lawrence, for being an amazing parent also, and for coming here and sharing with us as well.
All right.
We will see you all at Tyrone's house. Tyrone, there's been a big drop off since you have not been in your house, and since I've been the host, there's been a huge drop off, Tyrone. So I know. Everyone join us this Thursday for Tyrone's house, where the man will be back himself, back where he belongs. Don't get that look, because if I host, we'll have 3 people, and that's only the 3 people that show up for the Zoom. We love y'all. Take good care. Ms. Taylor, Ms. Lawrence, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ms. Lawrence.